It just dawned on me that it's the year 2025. I don't know. I don't understand myself sometimes either. Okay, hi. Here are you. Today's pages, plural. Well, it depends on how you look at it. Honestly, I did 3 large images that are for one page, but this is the stuff that I started yesterday during our live stream. And I started sketching out and then, of course, finishing. Not that one. That one. Not that one. That one. Oh, I'm hopeless. Hiya, Linda. Welcome aboard. Hiya, Tim. So this is the drawing that I started yesterday, and it turned out pretty darn well. I'm pretty pleased with them. And then there's the second that I did after the stream, and the third, and the 3 of them together. So, this is in Corbin. Yeah, Corbin is upstairs. I've got the patio door open, so he's ignoring me. Just watching what I call his TV. Okay, so I'll show you. Here's the originals. This is why it's kind of like technically doing 3 pages. So this is the first one that I did yesterday during the stream. And this is Adam. And I have chalk permanently stained in my hands here, because I used it so much yesterday. So there's the first one. And so these are studies from the creation of man by Michelangelo da Buonarroti. Michelangelo. And so there's the first one. And here comes the second one. There's the second one. That's fun. And this is also in chalk. So you can see the squares, I think, at this point, peeking through. You'll definitely see them on the next one. But this is all bits of paper and stuff embedded into the surface that I have painted white over top of. And you've seen me do this on the stream for a number of different pages. But there you go. And then the third one is right here. And this is the whole... Pardon me. Oh my gosh, my head just exploded. Anyways, so this is the one where you can see the squares and scraps and bits of paper throughout it. You can really get a good eye on those. So this is, that's the 3 of them. And then what I did was I took the 3 of them and I just overlaid them. So the idea for display purposes, the idea would be scrap paper. Looking for scrap paper. So the first one would be here, the second one would be here, and the third one would be here, in accordance to how they relate to one another. So it's like a slight elevation as it goes across the 3, one beside the next, and a little bit of space in between to account for the missing parts. And so that's how it can display on a wall. So that is the exciting, yeah. So that's yesterday's page. And good fun. I did it with this. I was advocating people pick these up. This is a 12-pack of chalk pastels, soft pastel, and 12 colors, right? It gives you the color field on the back. And I'm pretty pleased with how they went. Linda says, love all of those. Thanks, Linda. Now, I went over looking actually for more. I went to the dollar store, but I thought I picked up, because this is the boards. It's a piece of, I don't know what that is. Pressboard, plywood, I don't know what it is, but it's very thin and smooth. And it's got a nice little frame around the outside of it, a support frame. And these are lovely. So I was looking for more of these to buy, thinking that I got them there for whatever reason. Not true. I realized after the fact that I got them at Michael's, and or if you're in the United States, Hobby Lobby. So what I did find was a couple more different sets. This is black and whites. right? And what's interesting about this is that you get 12, but it's only 6 values. And not an awful lot of difference between these two sets here. But I realized that there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sets of, or pairs, I'm sorry, of pastels. So there's that one. And then this one, so that's your gray tones. This is your nude tones. Oh my goodness. And so you get a nice little range of colors from that. So my phone is my phone tells me it's likely spam. All right. So yeah, this is interesting. I haven't opened these yet, but let's see what they look like. Yeah. So there's a nice little range of values that are in there, and there's a little bit. There's a couple of duplicates in there. You can see that there's 2 of these and 2 of those. But, you know, nice good range of colors for doing people's faces. Going to be honest, using something like this makes the process a lot faster for doing people. But at the same time, you know, you have to really allow yourself to have a greater understanding of color and value and skin tones for you to really still make that work. Because as great as these flesh tones are, I highly encourage people to have a nice green in there, a nice, you know, yellow, and, you know, even a soft blue or a solid red, because there's so many different permutations in our pigments that you're not going to get it just by buying a set of flesh tone colors. Or as they call them, that other word. Yeesh. Okay, so yeah, so there's those pages, the chalk drawings that I started yesterday. Oh, here, this might help. This is the actual, the book that I was working from. This is the images. The image of the creation of Adam by Michelangelo di Buonarroti. Michelangelo. And so yeah, so there's the God in the head of an angel there. There's the fingers. And then there's old Adam kicking it back and chillaxing. You know, it's interesting. There's a fantastic thing. I got to show you this again. Just give me 1 sec. There's a fantastic thing in this, you know. Oh my gosh. Hey, Mr. Squinty. That's me. It's a bigger version on the cover, and I didn't even realize I had. So foolish. This thing was discovered recently. Realized, anyways, recently. Hi, Susanna. Welcome aboard. The shape, the squiggly bit at the bottom, and this shape here around God is a brain. A doctor recognized that in this last century, that this is actually the shape of the human brain that God encapsulates here. I know what you're thinking. Funky, cold Medina. That's crazy. So, anyway, so that's so the whole purpose of doing these yesterday, like the whole point of doing this stuff, was to check that these were going to work for a chalk drawing festival I'm trying to get set up for June here in London. So, you know, just you got to make sure the tools work, right? Right. Today is Father's Day here, so I go to dinner with mine. I won't be able to watch the whole live. Oh, well, happy Father's Day, Daddy-O. Yeah, I'm hip today. I'm very hip. That's why my friends call me Whiskers. So, Let's see. Last night I got new glasses. Well, I didn't get them yet. I ordered them. And couple new pairs of bifocal spectaculars. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's kind of nice to, get a new pair. These are all scratched up on the lenses. Well, not all scratched up, but you can tell that, my point is you can tell I dropped my glasses. So, yeah, it'll be nice to get a nice, pretty pair. Pretty. What are you telling me? Oh, it's my phone just informed me that I'm streaming right now. Thank you, phone. Okay, so all said and done, let's take a crack at today's page. The suggestion that I got, anyways, while I was buying my glasses, from Jerry D, was I lost my dog in my purse. Fancy, huh? I lost my dog in my purse. There you go. So there's Jerry D. Yeah, so that's what I'm going to give a go. And we'll see what we can get out of this. But let's start off with drawing a bunch of people with purses. What do you think of that? Yeah, I hope you have a good, nice dinner with your dad, Susanna. That's pretty awesome. What? Linda says, Happy Father's Day to your dad. See, there you go. Everybody's saying Happy Father's Day to your dad. And collectively, all dads in our shared human consciousness. Happy Father's Day to all you crazy cats. All right, so I lost my dog in my purse. I got one of my mechanical pencils kicking it out here. So I've got the page laid out in landscape format. And underneath the page, I don't know if you can see the lines faintly, I have got a template that I made. And it's got 9 panels laid out on it. But it has, what it does is gives you a nice little field of gutters and stuff like that if you want to use those in your page. And so if you've got, printer paper or whatever you call it, that you put this template on one, put a couple white sheets beneath it, and then whatever your current sheet that you're working on, if you lay it over top, you've got a pre-made, ready-made grid to work from, so that whatever it is that if you're doing a number of things that are interrelated to one another and you want to set format, this is a great way to do that. So that's, if you see some faint lines kicking through, that's what that is. All right, so I'm going to draw a few people crossing the street. And when I say people, I mean largely ladies. I'm saying ladies crossing the street, wielding their purses. I'll zoom in a little bit, make it easier. I cannot. There we go. Okay, I'll move this over so you can see it. There we go. There's our first lady. I had to wash down my entire desk and actually take the vinyl covering that this here that I have that lays on my desk, or rubber vinyl, I don't know what it is, and go and wash that in the sink in the laundry room so that I can get all this chalk off, because that stuff adds up. Okay, so I'm going to draw in some of these ladies walking across the street, and all of them wielding their purses, wielding them like weapons. There's a whole thing. I read this article one time. There's a whole thing about ladies and their purses and what their purses say about them. I thought it was really interesting. Linda says the theme for today, I lost my dog in my purse. There we go. So it's interesting, that idea that there's a psychology associated with purses, and identifiers that recognizes about the people that utilize those. Oh, I have it. Yeah. So, you never know, right? Probably the same thing about shoes. I'm sure that there's somebody who's done a study about the type of ketchup you use. Who knows anymore? Guys and dolls, cats and kittens, etc., etc. So I'm drawing our first character here and just roughing her in pencil. And we've got her choice of purse over her shoulder. It's a large bag, large purse bag type scenario where she can throw a whole bunch of things in. And then we're going to do our next person in walking across the street as well. So by having all these people just sort of, here's my thought, anyways. By just having all of these people sort of walking across the street, and of course on top of that, we would narrate about purses, What does your purse say about you? I don't know. We could do all kinds of things with it. But the theme that we have to cover is I lost my dog in my purse. Now, one way of looking at a story suggestion like that is, I guess I could spend the page and spend the stream trying to draw a whole dog and purse scenario. Or I can use it as a culminating factor towards the end. I haven't quite decided which, but what I do want to introduce is the idea of all kinds of individuals out in public and some measure of recognition that they're all carrying purses. I mean, I'm even going to have a fella in here who's got his, over-the-shoulder briefcase bag. Someone, it used to be the handled briefcase, and all the businessmen wearing the same black hats and black suits that drove in from the suburbs all had the same sort of briefcase. But now it's guys in white dress shirts, no tie, with an over-the-shoulder canvas bag where they keep all of your tax information. I don't know what's in them, but probably various things for various jobs. But we're going to put one of these guys in here, is my point. So I'm just putting together a few different characters in space. In the space of the first panel here, I'm using this guideline from the border format that's marked below as the extremity of the frame. So I think I'll put our guy here, because I realize that I just sort of cut him out of the frame here if I'm choosing to stay with this panel. Maybe I'll do a little more space to the side. How's that? Sounds great, Chris. Oh, I'm glad. So I had to spray a spray fixative on these pieces because they're chalk, and you touch them, they're going to rub off. So by spraying this fixative on them, it should keep them a little more protected, a little more adhered to said surface. Of course, the challenge of that is I've brought them inside within the same day, and they still stink. So I'm pretty sure. Listen, if I'm doing cartwheels by the end of this stream, and I'm squeezing my belly button and trying to talk through that, it might mean the spray has made me a little bit loopy. But let's just hold out and see if that happens. I think they'll be fine. They just smell like spray. But they're gonna. That's the whole point. They're gonna for a little bit of time. That's fine. As long as they protect the chalk that's affixed to the surface. And then they're put in some sort of place where they can't, they're not easily accessible for somebody to walk up and lick the surface of the image, because then they'll lick all the chalk off. And yeah. You never know with people. You never know. I don't know when Father's Day is here. You'd think I would, but maybe we already had it, maybe we didn't. I don't know. I tend not to pay too much attention to those sorts of things. My kids are all, doing their thing. Dad's probably in the basement anyways. I'm sitting in his studio doing whatever. That's not what my kids sound like. That's the way I do an impression of people. I heard somebody say this morning, somebody say, "Hey, how you doing?" I went, "Surviving." That is the way I do an impression of younger people. So it's not entirely, wrong. Okay, so I've got these two people in the foreground, made them a little bit larger than this lady in the back. And let's put somebody sort of half, like they're a little farther ahead than this person is. And so we'll put them in the image here. So I'm just trying to think about relating scale from one to the next, right? So we're going to give this person longer hair. PMR Studio. Hey, how are you, Mariah? And what's going on? What's happening? What's hip-hop happening? I thought about posting the chalk thing I did today and sending that to you guys, and I didn't do it. Or you gals. And I didn't do it. I forgot. Well, I had the idea, and then I immediately forgot. Which is, typical for me. I gotta remember to do this incredibly important thing. Hey, is that snow outside? Yeah. So I'm drawing this person to be slightly larger in scale than this one here, and yet still a little bit smaller in scale than these people in the foreground. So. You should always post in Makers. Okay, well, I'll post it after this. I'll post because it's not really mixed media. I guess it is. It's chalk. I drew in chalk on a board that I had a whole bunch of pieces of paper on. It's kind of mixed media. But the paper, I guess. So I did a triptych of, that's what this is. Hey, how are you? Who likes soup? And they're like, oh, I like soup too. Anyways. So yeah, I'll do that after. I appreciate that. It's nice. Yeah. I got interviewed recently by somebody that will be going up soon on creativity in our daily lives and creativity as an objective for individuals. And so I was interviewed for that, and they're posting it up on their site. So, hi Liz, how are you? Didn't have to be mixed. All art is welcome. There, nice. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. The first of the interviews is up today, and it's on Corey Kerr's site, Kerr. Kerr, I think it is pronounced, but for whatever reason I say Kerr. He laughs. He says, Corey Kerr is how I say it. Not quite. All right, so here's this lady's arm. There's a really great artist that if people are interested in drawing form, there's a really great artist I recommend people check out. I can't really show an awful lot of his stuff here per se because he has a degree of characters in flagrante delicti. Let me see what I can find. Scribbles and sketches. let's see what we got. So Mitch Bird is the name of the artist. And what's great about Mitch is that he talks about form, and he talks very specifically about form in female characters, and how their physicality is very different than masculine characters around them. So I'm just looking for some of the examples of the differences in the characters. But like I said earlier, there's, I don't want to put up anything untoward. So here's one of his illustrated images. And the artist here that I'm talking about is Mitch Bird, okay? And so Mitch, he really has this strong sense of weight and volume. And so when he's illustrating people, it shows that. And he has this wonderful ability to show the different volumes in accordance in space. And so he has thinner female characters. He has thicker female characters. Same with male, right? Muscular males, gaunt males, things like that. Ink on paper, hello. Lighting shading on my page, so I hashtagged you. Oh, really cool. So one of the things that I think is interesting, and I would encourage people to do, is to look at his stuff where he can show you the differences in form. And so he talks about utilizing a soft line, an organic line that has weight to the edges of it. So that's how he can draw some of these fantastic things, but get all kinds of interesting textures. But you see the extremist line around some of these creatures has a heavier set line than the interior. But there's an awful lot of stuff here for the grown-ups. This is one of his examples that he talks about putting volume on a form. So if this is the shape language of the character, all of these different pieces of clothing and such is what we skin it in, basically. Let's see, I'll find one more good example. There we are. Here's the cover of his one book, Sketches. I think it's Sketches and Doodles. Or maybe it's not, Sketches and Scribbles. Or he did a Blue Line Pro book where he taught people about how to draw. And so this was the cover of that. But you can see the differences in weight and how mass carries weight, right? So that I'm a large person. And so because of being 5'18", there's a different form structure to me than, say, to our youngest son, who, while he's 6 feet something tall, 6'1", I think, he's a lot thinner framed than I am. And so, he's got less density, let's call it. And so because of that, his weight sits differently in his form. And so, yeah, if you're interested in finding out about interesting applications and how you can depict that, check out Mitch Bird. I'm missing a whole bunch of stuff. Just me, Mariah. Always posting me. Tried adding light and shading to my page and hashtagged you. Oh, fantastic. I'm going to have to check that out. Ink, do you want us to use another name for you? Ink on Paper. It's a great name. It's a strange one to introduce yourself at cocktail parties. So it's lovely to meet you here. Have you tried the canapes? Your name is Ink on Paper. Yeah, it doesn't. These online names don't work in person, right? Stands with a fist. I don't know. There's some funny names out there. I got a like, on a drawing one time of somebody that's their online name was "You Did It." I just thought that was grand. You did it, All right, so let's draw this next person here, and we'll have them walking. So let's billow out the outfit a little bit. So, yeah, you can tell that Mitch Bird is one of those people that, I appreciate what lessons I got from him about form and volume and kinetic flow in with our line, so that if somebody's got their outfit billowing behind them, or if it's sagging over our shoulders, or if it's whatever it is, how do we depict that? How do we depict that in images? Mitch Bird helped that a lot. I'm in red mode. Yeah, red mode. Beep, 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 beep. Danger. Danger will run. No, that's not the same. Okay, so I'm going to put the second leg kick back here as this character is walking through space, and so we're selling that just a little bit more there. Put some shoes on them, and then we'll draw another person here in the foreground. So I find it important that we connect. We don't have people just floating in space in relationship to one another. If you've got people in front of one another in a crowd, it really helps to make that clear to your reader, to your viewer, that you understand that this person is behind that person. So in order to do so, one of the mechanisms that you can put in place is to have some body part of the second person to be covered up by the body parts of the first person. In this case here, this foot touches in, the toes are hidden behind the back of her head. The majority of this foot's hidden in the back of his. Her heel is lost behind this person. This foot here is, again, it's sort of, it looks like these people are morphing into each other's back, is one way we can read that, symbolic language that visual representations are. Or we can look at it in the sense of this person is in front of that in relationship to that, in relationship to that, and so on and so forth. But by having these people here in front of these two, it sort of lets us know that one is behind the other. All right, so I'm just going to put this big fella here in the foreground. He's got a big raised lapel. I think he likes Elvis. That's just how I'm drawing him, I guess. So yeah, so we'll put him in there. Thinking of my a guy I know, Dave. Sort of putting Dave in here. It's think of people that you know in your life, and just allow yourself to think about what they look like a little bit, and do some little representation of them in a flattering kind of way. If you draw them unflatteringly, they won't be your pals for long. Am I missing stuff? You're in a red. Okay, I'm caught up. Just making sure I'm caught up, folks. So, has anybody got any big projects that they're working on they want to talk about? It's interesting, Liz, about black and light and shading to your page. This is something I showed earlier, Liz, if you're still here. I found black and white, a gray tones set of the chalk pastels at the dollar store. And what's nice about preset values, whether it's in marker or pen or pencil crayon or pastel, whatever it is, the nice thing about preset values is that if you definitively want to have areas of value, areas of color, that you're going to have a consistency of those within that area, because preset colors enables that for you. But that, of course, is lost the moment that you start to blend things. As soon as you start blending things, well then, it's a whole free-for-all. You're blending everywhere. It's kind of like a rule, unwritten rule. It just ends up happening because you're like, well, now this doesn't look right. I got to do this part. Now I got to do this part. Okay, so we've got this lady's purse is on this side. So what my thought was was to have her purse be one of those that tucks out from under the arm. She holds it close to her body because there's a lot of thieves out there. Okay, so now we've got 2, 3 depictions of people going, oh, I didn't put hers in. Let's put her purse in. So thinking about form, again, if I've got the strap coming over the shoulder, depending on how much your character's chest bumps out, right? And again, this counts for not just females, but men as well. Like I said earlier, I'm a broad guy, a big broad bugger. So, you know, it's going to hang off me, satchel or whatever is going to hang off me very separately and distinctly from the next person that's half my size. I'm often carrying a portfolio when I drag myself out of the studio. And yeah, it hangs over my side. And other people, it just, because my size and the strap is set for me, it sits snugly in a way. But when other people that have helped me move things at times have thrown it over their shoulder, it's just, you know, just dangling there because, you know, like I said, I'm a big broad bugger. So, okay, so we got our first group of people. I'm going to put one more individual here, and then we're going to do a little bit of fun with our background. And so this one more person, we're going to do them, we're thinking about scale, okay? So we'll do them slightly smaller than the individuals before them. Let's put her in some glasses. Yeah, so we can do tighter art, better finish lines, ink in our images or whatever. It doesn't necessarily matter too much in this moment. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have this person in a black top here. And then what we're going to do is make them a little bit thin. But no clear definition on the body type because we're just going to have this as a black mass area. Sometimes I find that fun in a drawing to not have everything so clearly defined, you know. And sometimes when you've got characters that are in, you know, black clothing, which I wear a lot, you know, it's just sort of almost like a void of color, and that shape language can do some interesting things for us. Okay, so I'm going to put them in a skirt, and let's have them, yeah, we'll have them carrying a large, so we'll cut into the black mass with this diagonal shape that represents the strap here, and then we'll have that form carrying behind the person's legs and such. So we'll put her leg here in the foreground, and again behind this person's head. Now we know that where they are in relationship to that one, and the placement. The second part of that is, of course, the placement of feet. The placement of feet. If this foot is lower than that foot, that sort of subliminally says that this person is closer to us than the second person. I guess I would be closer to you. It's just, if you look at people in a room, get your people to do this for you. As they stand in the room and you stay in a set position, and as you look at them across, let's say across the span of the room, and look as they're standing one before the next where their feet are, because they get higher as they're farther away. So, okay, so here's our next person here. And so what I did is that I tucked a big portfolio over their shoulder. that they're carrying. And so by doing that, and that puts them in space to this other person who's walking before them. Doesn't cross over, but the fact that their foot is so high up above this one, behind this lady's hair, it tells us where they are in relationship to one another in space. Okay, I'm going to do a couple things first. I'm going to get out my fancy, fantastic little baby ruler. It's a baby. And so what I'll do is that I'll lay in some marks here. And then I'm going to put some corresponding marks in there. And these little parallel lines are, of course, they're all now crossing a street. Simple symbolic language tells us that this is them crossing a road. So we don't have to draw the lines going all the way through, just a couple of random white lines on the sidewalk as they're moving across. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a sign in here next, like a piece of street light, you know, like a, what is it called, a crosswalk light, cross don't cross. I'll put this box in here. It's just free floating in our foreground. And so this is our little way of saying that, just to sort of continue this motif if they're all crossing the street. But that makes zero sense floating in space, right? Right. So we need to have some more apparatus in place. And so I'm going to put a street sign here, okay, that would sit on the same post. We'll put that post here. And the reason I'm drawing these things in first is that now I can put another person here. Give them a bun in their hair, and we'll have their, let me think. If that's a bun in the hair, and then here's our shoulder line. So they'll be walking along like so. And we'll give them a big old purse over their side, and we'll have their hand holding on to it. But what I'm trying to do, again, the same thing that I've tried to show you here, is to put this person contextually in the same environment, the same space, even though the majority of them is completely covered up by this stuff in the foreground. So, and then I'll have their one leg in behind, and then there'll be the intimation of their other leg is here. So kick out their lower leg. So now this person is behind this person who's in front of that sign. If that makes any sense. Oh, I'm so sorry. Thank you, Liz. Going off page a little. There we go. So now we've got all of these characters here, and we need one more in place, and this person would be up above. So I got to think about scale again and relate this person to our diminishing scale that we have with everybody else. And so I'll put this guy walking in behind this lady. And we know he's behind this lady because she's in front of him, right? Right. There's his one hand. Try to change up how people walk too, right? This guy's hands are off of his sides as he trots along. So there's this character. And then one more, let's do one more, couple more things. One will be a street sign. And then the last will be following this motif of the lines in the road. And I guess we'd have one more over here, like that, and like that. And then some of these little areas that I'm leaving out are for text. So not everything has to have visual information in it. Sometimes we want these kinds of spaces for us to write words. If it's a combination of words and pictures that we're going for, which we are. So I'm using this piece of paper the template that is made, this 9-panel format piece of paper that's underneath this one. So it lets me have a quick understanding that this is where I can do our little panel shape here. And there's our first panel. So I'm introducing, for the narrative, all of these individuals, because this is all about the suggestion for today. I lost my dog in my purse. So I'm introducing all these individuals that each carry a purse of their own kind, you know. And that's where we're going to start. And so next we can introduce a character that, you know, and their dog, really. But our first panel, by having our first panel like this, it sort of sets it up. There we are, all in the shot. Sorry about that. It sort of sets us up with the ability to dialogue about the fact that, you know, all these individuals are carrying some sort of thing. There's a purse, there's a strap, there's a purse, there's a portfolio, there's a different kind of purse. So we're kind of establishing visually for to coincide with the narrative that the example of all these, all kinds of people carry all kinds of different purses, right? So that sort of informs the start of our page and gets us crack-a-lackin'. Now, as far as it goes for a second panel, I think I'm going to do another upright. Right. And so there's a nice, you know, pre-measured gutter by having the template underneath, right? Right. And yeah, so I think that what I'll do next is just try to figure out our character themselves, right? This says, so cool. Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, I think I'll try to figure out a way to represent our character. I got an idea. I have an idea. I'm cooking with the gas means. So we're going to just focus in on another person. And we'll do a closer shot on them. And so we'll have a lady here with her hair going in the wind. Not too crazy because we don't have a lot of erratic wind in this first panel. But we'll have her chatting on her doodad. That's a scientific term. It stands for telephone, and yeah, it's going to catch on. All the kids will be using it. Nope, I'm not even drawing in panel again. I'm going to zoom back out a little bit because that gets aggravating. Okay, so there's our first panel, and here's our second one coming in now. It's also upright. We're also showcasing the fact that, you know, it's moving across the page and on this level. We're going to be the same height. You know, but we're going to focus more clearly on our character who's about to explain about having lost her dog in her purse. Now, my idea for this whole thing, you would think we're talking about a small dog. Maybe, maybe not. That's not as, you know, I think it would be more remarkable to have a larger dog stuck in her purse. Then you can present all kinds of different scenarios, like how big is it? How much can you hold in that thing? Marks and Spencer's $9.99. No, I don't know. Mark and Spencer's still a real store. The Hudson Bay store here in Canada is closing up. Hudson Bay, the Simpsons, yeah. This says, because I use magazines, I can see using flower picks as clothes, like fun hippie clothes. Oh, yeah, that's fun. An interesting thing you can do if you work digitally is that you can find wallpaper patterns and take those wallpaper patterns and lay those into your images and clothe your characters in a costume. Like, here, I'll show you in a sec. I'll do it right here on this person. Let's do it right here. Okay, so if you draw, and I'll grab another piece of paper. So if you draw like a set pattern, all right, so you've got your little flowers and your leafery or whatever it is, and so you've got your repetitive pattern. And if you just apply this repetitive pattern over and over again in space, you've got your wallpaper, right? Now, a fun thing that I like doing, anyways, is I'll take this set pattern, okay, and I'll lay it into the image. But honestly, you should be, if there's a fold in the fabric, say for a person's shoulder, right? Now, ideally, see, does that make sense that that's a person's shoulder? I hope it does. So ideally, what you're going to want to do is to modify this pattern so that it sits, you know, in the space, but it also conforms to the form that it's covering. So if we've got this part over here, and then there's its little bit of business. If we've got a fold here, right, this next part might have to account for that overlap of fabric in the space, in the environment, so that you're going to have, like this, a little jag in the pattern. I hope that is clear enough for people. And conversely, if you're going into the fold like so, the next part is going to be very disconnected from the first half of the flower, you know, and then you might have another part of the same pattern that you're not even seeing that half of the flower. But what that's sort of telling the reader is it's trying to help them to understand dimension in space, right? So, you know, things to consider anyways. So that's how you get all these sort of choppy bits of overlapping pattern. Now, that said, I like doing this. So that, let's see, we got the same shoulder again, okay? We've got these fold patterns here once more. There's our arm, or the, you know, the sleeve of our arm. Here's our arm peeking through, okay? Now, I like just doing this. Now, visually, for me, for whatever reason, I find this more preferable, where I lay the image down flat. And by laying the image down flat on that, what it actually requires is to make whatever it is that I'm drawing representational enough that the viewer understands that this person isn't a two-dimensional piece of paper standing in the environment, in the space. So by having the flat pattern on top of that to denote their Hawaiian shirt or whatever it is, their plaid pants, it's kind of a flourish, but at the same time, you're still breaking that reality wall that you're trying to depict. So it's, you know, time and place, maybe. Like if it's a very serious, story where somebody doesn't want any sort of creative exposition like this in there, you have to take account that sort of thing. But yeah, I think that's great. The idea of using fashion magazines in all the flower pictures, and even when you're sitting there just scribbling in a notebook and you see the plant in the corner of the room, there's all kinds of fun things you can do with that. You can do your drawing of your plant I can't think of any plant names other than hostis, which I don't think is an interior plant. You can do your drawing of your plant, but if you're drawing, say, a side of a building, you can put that plant drawing in there. We'll do this really rudimentarily. So here's our there's a stick, and then here's your plant, okay? I don't know what kind of plant is. I couldn't tell you. Not a plant guy. So Lori's the one who's better with plants and things. All right, so there's our plant, okay? So if I'm drawing, say, a back alley of a city street, okay, and we've got a metal gate that's down over somebody's loading dock or whatever it is, and you've got your brick patterns. I'm going to do this really sloppy, but brace yourself. So you've got your brick pattern wall, and okay, you can take your flower in the pot, and if you were to think about it in the context of this environment, this space, as though it were painted on the wall. Okay, so here's your flower pot. But then we know that there's a break right here because our garage door is inset, right? In the image. So the other part of so if you account for that in your head, so that while you're drawing this, we know what it looks like in its representation here, so that the inside of this wall would only have this much depiction peeking through, and then the rest of our flower pot would be like so. So even something that as simple as drawing a chair or a flower pot or whatever it is in your corner, you can populate other environments in those things. And why is a person painted a flower pot on an alleyway wall? I don't know. I don't care. We're just having fun. But and the same thing goes for, let's say, Bruno. We'll write Bruno, okay? And we'll imagine Bruno is boxed letters. I don't know why Bruno, don't ask. And so if we want to make this a spray paint graffito, what we'll do is, now that we've got it conceived over here, when we go over to this environment again, and we know that so imagine this pattern in your head, because this is the different plates of metal that make up your garage door, right? So that's looking at it from the side, I suppose, if you also turned it like that. So we're thinking about that now as we're painting Bruno. So if Bruno is going to go here, and there's the top of the U, and then there's the other top of the U. Excuse me. There's the top of the N. I'll continue this in a sec. And so our next one is going to kick down a little tiny bit to show that this space is slightly higher, right? And this is how we do things so that it looks like there's more form to said environment. Un momento, s'il vous plaît. So what I'll do is I'll do that one more time, here and there. So there's Bruno spread across this metal door. And as it jags down with each of these different plates, right? And then when we go around the corner, it goes like this. And then as we get back around that corner, because the corner of this entranceway divides, but that N is going to sit inside of there, like so. So the O is over here on the wall. But the N has got this kind of contorted shape because the N is going around a corner. And that's the same thing that's happening to our potted plant on that side. I hope that helps people. I hope that makes sense to you. But you can take ornate patterns and decoration, like flowers or potted plants or somebody named Bruno, and you can put those things inside of an environment that allows you to have a little more visual complexity going on, that just gives a little more zip and zing to your illustration. I think I did the lettering a little bit wrong, but there we go. So there's Bruno. Probably the letters are too small. You get the idea. So yeah, so think about stuff like that, and account for, there's a little divot in here because I'm thinking of the brickwork, because bricks, here's a brick, right? And then here's his pal Charlie right next door to him. Okay, and then down below these two is their other pal. Conversely, the next one and so forth. So the thing to consider with bricks is that the space between said bricks has this indentation to it. There's an indentation that is between the space of the bricks. So when you're drawing that, think about the fact that binder, whatever that concrete or whatever it is, that pastes those bricks together and makes a wall out of them by overlapping them, that generally it's got an indentation to it, and so the edge of the brick sits out farther from that. It's like a finger's width of spacing. So yeah, tangent. What was I doing? All right, so yeah, so if we do our little flower pattern on this lady here, can you see that? I think you can see that. So if we do our flower pattern on her here, we want to think about how said flower pattern sits on her form. So, you've got to contort, or distort, I think is the word I'm looking for, those flowers as they sit across her shoulders. So if they're on the arms, okay, don't worry about continuing this perspective of the pattern. We're going to bend it now so that you can see how it sits across her arms. And then we're going to have just the side of it. So this way, the reader knows that there's different volume in the shoulder than there is in the upper torso. Anyhow, something to think about. All right. Tangent. Okay, so our next person, we're going to have them holding a cellular device, a cellular communication device. What is that, you ask? I don't know. It's like a typewriter, but the kids can carry it around and it's a lot smaller and it doesn't go ding when you finish a line of dialogue. You know what I wish we still had? Now, bearing in mind, I'm kind of different. I wish we still had those stereotypical television and classroom film little video essays on your telephone and you know, all about lead paint, like just, those random things that really saw their heyday in the 1950s, 60s. I wish they still made those as, and didn't put all this production and expectation into, simple videos, simple explanatory videos that they do today. I'm trying to make it cool and hip for the kids with dancing. Forget it. Just have a scientist with a pipe in his mouth. Kids, do you wonder, who's in charge of the little talking, or the little mans and womans that are in the crosswalk telling you to go or not to go? It's a pre-programmed computer program. Anyways, nonsense. All right, so we're going to have this character. Let's give them a shopping bag over their arm, and then we'll give them their purse underneath. So we've got her arm, there's the shopping bag, and then over the shoulder we've got the strap for her purse. Now we can have our character stop and go, oh my goodness, I think I left my puppy where I was. Let me check my purse. And, I can have the purse start barking. Scruffy, are you in there? I think if you could just put a key in the back of my head and lift the top of my head off and explore my brain, I can't make any sense of where these connections of ideas come from. They are a little bit nutty, but it's a lot of fun. Except for, again, I understand, I have a general comprehension of what it is, and it's allow yourself the easy connections to associate whatever random things that you experience in your world, and don't be afraid to allow those connections to bridge themselves together. So if you have a notion, well, I don't know, I do it like this, and then you go, no, that's crazy. Don't do the no, that's crazy part. Because you've made an association there that somebody else might not have made. And they're going to go, oh, that's a neat association. I never would have thought about that. And it puts your own unique stamp, the little mechanisms that make up who you are, into whatever it is that you're doing. Okay, so we've got our lady looking at her phone. I'm debating on whether I'm going to ink this or not. That's why I'm not being really descriptive in my facial features here, folks. Because I hate drawing it and then having to ink it exactly as I drew it. That's the benefit of inking your own work, is that you can allow for change. Liz, you can also put flowers in hair. There you go. You can also tie yellow ribbons around oak trees, old ones preferably. Speaking of hippie stuff, I read a sci-fi comic from Europe recently, and it's set in a far distant future near the side of who knows where. And there's an instance where your space hippie types, one of them tries to put a flower in the butt of a gun by one of the space aliens, of one of the space bad guys, and you're like, I get that reference. That's kind of fun. The next page, they're all shooting their laser zappers. I'm like, oh no. So we're zooming in on our person. We can put, let's put, follow this motif here, and we'll put another person in the foreground of them. And we understand that this person's walking across the street because we've already preset that expectation on the previous panel. So when we see this person's head cut off and our person walking, in smaller in space than they are, we understand what that relates to. We don't have to explain all of this again. We've done so at the preceding visual element. Don't need all their face in there. They don't matter. They're dressing. Okay, so I'm going to just bump their shoulder a little bit, just so it cuts this line very, very slightly. Okay, so, and I'm not going to worry about the remainder of this. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to put a border over here on the side of her laxer. And the reason that I'm going to do that is that I want to take the next panel to zoom in on her face, where she'll say, "My puppy, my dog, where did I leave my dog?" So we'll carry this over here, and I'll fill in this, the XYZ people in behind, doesn't matter right now, but we'll have a couple more little, I'll just do another lady here or something like that, another foot. But the next panel that I want is our character here. We're going to zoom in on her more closely and, give her a look of, uh-oh, spaghetti-o. Where's my puppy? My dog. It's giving her some Betty Davis eyes there. Uh-oh, there we go. Just putting it in loose. Now we look up. So we've got our eyes zoomed in on her phone, and then this time we've got more zoomed in on her in the panel so that we can see that facial expression of, uh-oh. And we'll put that phone peeking through in the bottom of the panel to keep that consistently moving across. I do a thing where I realize after the fact that I'm doing a thing with math, and that is that there's a diagonal line that you can follow across here in our panel that we have precedingly set in our first panel, and I'm carrying that forward again into our third panel, and it keeps a consistent line moving across our page, which is helpful for our reader. I have to come up with a silly name for this dog. Where is Mr. Skiddlywinks? Ruh-roh. Part of me is thinking I got to move it over a little bit more. Just because I don't want to cut it at the side of her head like that. The panel. Are you dying on me here? There we go. So this is where she takes a break from her device and looks up and says, "Mr. Scruffy." I have no idea what the name of dog. Walter. Oh. Cat person. Anyways. So we continue some of those visual elements. There's the strap for the purse. Right? There it is going down. We're going to have a piece of her arm revealed. Shoulder. That's it. Okay. should be using my other ruler. I mean, it's sitting right beside me. I have a squaring ruler, but I'm using this template to try to prove a point. Oh, I never noticed it's a subtle angle. Well, there's two angles at play. One is going this way. Knit, 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 right? The strap, the forehead, everybody's walking in the same direction. And then the other one is, of course, the opposite. So it's basically one line is this way and the other line is that way. And it moves through the 3 panels. So that in the final panel on this page, when I have somebody looking down, because the text is going to carry the viewer following through the page, and so when I have somebody angled down this way, they're immediately going to move to the bottom corner. In theory. So there's our third panel, and then the fourth panel will be her looking in her purse, etc., etc. So yeah, here, I'll do it now. Look, so there she is. She's stopped, and she'll be looking down. Am I still? I'm out of frame. Moving down. There we go. I'll just get my big head out of the way. You don't need my head in there. All right, so now we've got our final panel will be, so think about when you're looking in your purse, your arm comes up, your other arm drops down as you're holding open your purse, and your second arm is raised up so that you can shove said arm down into said purse, right? So there's the contents of, there's your purse all opened up, bunch up the top part of it, and then the second arm is down there. And of course, because we decided to draw this clothing store bag, who came up with that idea? On this arm, sorry, just give me a second to reload a lead. Frustrates me that last inch of a lead is just useless. It won't let, it'll just keep poking back into the mechanical pencil. So the bag keeps getting in the road, but the bag sits, we get to sit it over the purse and give some sense of form. Okay, so that will be our next objective, is to put together oh, my puppy's not in a bag, you know. So I'll have some of that, her hip in play, and her sleeve sticks out. So it's just about understanding the form language and then applying dimension to it. This really helps my page layouts. Thanks so much. Oh, glad to hear that, Liz. It's still the same underlying principle with any page and any of the visual aspect to it. If you've got a page in the landscape format, your objective is to get people from there to there, right? You want them to, you know, from there to there is your objective, really. But depending on how many panels you're putting on it, how many different levels of panels you're putting on it, becomes the more complex zigzag. And the same thing for let's just do this. The same thing for a portrait format page is that we're starting in our upper left and going to our bottom right. In the Western market, in the Asian market, it's the opposite. And it's the same thing. We're moving our way through the forest to Grandma's house, right? So whatever the complexity of how you go about doing it, you want to move the eye down to here, across to there, down to here, across to there. So if you do that visually by applying some of these angles up over here, right, and a sort of rerouting of angles or redirecting of this energy this way, but we're going to have to do this business again over here, right? If you think about it like that, same thing, ding dong, if you think about laying out your page this way, sometimes that helps people to realize the mechanisms to put into place to move the reader's eye from this point to this point by thinking about it in accordance to angles. You know, it's the little things. Look at it as you want this character who's standing here, hand on hip, hi, okay, and they want to get to Grandma's house, okay. Smoke tank, bit of smoke. Anyways, so the whole objective is to get them across to here. But everything that takes place on your page throughout here is the adventure of this path that goes to Grandma's house. It's all the adventure that takes place on there. And so by the end of it, ideally, they're standing, am I in frame still? Yep. They're standing in front of Grandma's house, okay, as you know, they're resting their one hand on their knee, and they're exhausted, and their other leg is really hurt, and they've been dragging their foot, and you know, and they're trying to wave, hello, Grandma, help, can you bring out the first aid kit? So whatever happens in between there, you know, are the sophisticated little things that you do in the course of your story. But if you can continue to figure out ways to move the eye down this way, and if the visual part isn't doing it, then, you know, I'm going to my grandma's house, she lives over there, it's really great, and then she makes great pies. So the textual aspect has made the eye move like this. And if the next panel starts here where the person is saying, you know, I love pie, and they're holding their tummy, I loves me some pie. You know, don't you? And now we've taken this direction, and it's automatically looped the eye this way to follow the text through there, so that it, and if we figure out a way to control that direction of the text, then that moves the eye around as well. So think about interplaying the two things together, the visual and the textual. I did it backwards, circle in the same path. Well, it's you know, whether it's Eastern or Western, the Western world, our eye tends to move left to right. And in the Asiatic world, it is right to left. But we both do top to bottom. So that's the similarity that lets the kids that are growing up right now reading manga as opposed to North American books, at least they're getting the top to the bottom part. It's the same. But this is the reason that a lot of kids that grow up reading manga have a hard time reading Western comics, is because they think they are backwards. So, in here, I have so many pieces of paper where I do this too, and then I don't know what to do with them. Okay, so we've got our character who's moving across. Now she's looking in for her dog, and the reason of raising her arm and having it go down into her purse is this. I'm going to show you. It's really sneaky. So here we are, and we go this way and this way. The arm forces the viewer's eye back in that angle. And so optimally, that requires the viewer to redirect themselves down to here, to our next level of illustration. So, yep, you know, then, you know, because this we got a little bit of free reign, but we want to follow that same angular motif. So, you know, we can have the purse hold back the hand, hold back the side of the purse. And here's this hand holding this side of said purse, right? And, you know, the dialogue here says, Scruffy. And so, you know, and where we take the end of it, the punchline for the ending is entirely our own. But the suggestion is, I lost my dog in my purse. And the fact that she's had this empathetic moment where she's realized that she doesn't have her dog, looks into her purse, which really isn't that big, to find her dog, and then, you know, out pops the dog's head, and she goes, Whew, okay, all right. Let's go get you a snack, or whatever the dialogue is going to take us in, or the story is going to take us in, which I'm not going to give away right now. I'm going to finish it and post it for tomorrow. So there we go, folks. I lost my dog in the purse, suggested by Jerry D, and I'll get that finished and posted for tomorrow. Yeah. So yesterday, if you want some ideas about how to work with chalk, yesterday's YouTube is about that. And yeah, I'll be talking about this more and doing a few more examples in the somewhat in the immediate future, next few months, because I'm trying to set it up for a chalk drawing event where people get to do, large visual images on parking lot pavement, and for the viewers to view from the sidewalk. And yeah, big fun in the sun, folks. I did those for a number of years. They're a lot of fun, but you eventually start to figure out how to work colors and how to do your lines to depict it enough that you can move on. Everything doesn't have to be delineated specifically in this sort of a method. Color fields, even abstract, smudgy sort of areas imply a wispiness of hair or something like that. There's all kinds of different things, to apply. You don't have to have clearly defined hair because they're looking at it from X amount of feet away. So there you go. Thanks very much, everybody, for coming by. Linda says, thumbs up for Christopher. Oh, thank you very much, Linda, the moderator of the mostest. Yeah, that's about it. I will be back tomorrow at 2 p.m. EST, whatever time that is for you, I don't know. But feel free to come on out. We'll do another one page. If anybody has anything that they want me to do tomorrow, a certain medium or anything like that, let me know in the comments for this video when it posts, or anywhere else, any of the other social media posts where I show the chalk images on Instagram and Facebook and Patreon, and we'll try that tomorrow. If I have that medium here at home, I'll give it a go. I probably do. I got a problem with buying things to draw with. Okay, that's it for me. Thanks very much, everybody, for coming by. Thanks very much to Jerry D for today's suggestion. And I hope you all have a fantastic day. I'm going to try to go and take a look, Liz, at your drawing there, and anybody else, if you want. I'd love to see what you're working on as well. Okay, gang, thanks so much. Oh, you'll be moving your son tomorrow, says Liz. Okay, but that's fine, Liz, because we've got, it'll be taped, so you can still, but if you have a suggestion that you want me to do tomorrow, Liz, let me know. Okay, bye for now, everybody. Thanks very much for coming out. I hope you have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.